Good evening and welcome to another episode of Unscripted and Unchained RPG Review. I am DM Bluddworth, and as you can see by the graphics, this evening's video is a recap of Session 6 of my AD&D First Edition Greyhawk campaign. So if you've been following along, you know that I play Monday nights at 7 p.m. till about 10:30ish p.m. Eastern Time. That is every Monday, and it's been every Monday consistently since about 7 or possibly even 8 weeks ago. We had two split sessions of a zero session, and then these past 6 weeks, including holidays, the group has come together even on Labor Day, and so we've been very, very consistent with our Monday night games. I've been really excited about it, and we've been having a real blast. So if you haven't gotten a chance to look at the other recaps, all of these are included together in one bundle. So after you've watched this, you can go back and catch some of the other session recaps if you hadn't had a chance to. So without further ado, let's get right into this. So this particular adventure was kind of an impromptu one. I I knew that the player characters were going to return to Kendall Keep because their fighter in session 5 was brought down to -2 hit points, recovered a little bit from some healing on the spot, and they decided since he needed 5 days because of his constitution bonus, only 5 days of complete bed rest, that they would actually remove themselves from Quescaton. They are running B1 in Search of the Unknown, and so they left and they returned to Kendall Keep, and they were starting to make arrangements for their preparations for the next day of heading back to Westburn, which is the nearest large town just north of Kendall Keep. So I knew they were going to make that travel, and I knew that they would most likely encounter a small group of bandits, but it really did evolve into a major encounter. And so let me start reading you the recap. So these are my notes, pretty much stuck to them with just a few exceptions. So they were going to travel to Kendall Keep to get provisions for the travel back to Westburn for training and recovery. So that was their whole purpose. Many of the player party members have sufficient enough experience to go to second level. They also have sufficient gold in order to pay for it. So that was the second main reason why they were looking to leave Quescaton and head up to a major town where they will find enough training for all of the nine player characters in the group. Now, I had devised beforehand that the adventure party caravan will be ambushed along the route, and suspicion will be raised that someone in Kendall Keep is tipping off bandits of caravans coming and going. The thing is that the players kind of came up with that own suspicion on their own. I didn't have to tip them off. They kind of have a thought that is a possibility. So and I'll see where they go. Like, they're going to see this now, so I'll see where that's going to go from there. The Bandit Party I had already prearranged. If you watched my other video where I'm talking about the Rogues Gallery that I used for looking to create Westburn and about 30 NPCs there, I also saw that supplement has bandit companies, and so I used some of them to model what this bandit company was going to look like. So the Bandit Party will be led by a 5th level fighter and 2 2nd level fighters and 27 bandits. So remember, I have nine player characters one of which is incapacitated. So really, they were going as a group of 8, and they were going to face approximately 30 bandits. Each group is made up of a fighter plus 9 bandits. However, the leader party will remain in their camp if the first 2 ambushes fail to kill any of the adventuring party. That had changed as it was taking place, and actually, it wasn't the main body that would attack. And you'll see when I change to the graphic, the main body with the primary leader, the 5th level fighter, was going to attack from the 2nd o'clock position, and they decided to move out ahead of time, and it was the 9 o'clock group led by a 2nd level fighter and 9 bandits were going to kind of hang back and wait to see where they were actually needed and such. So that became their plan. So all of this I kind of had an idea for, and it was just for the purpose of getting the players to Westburn and possibly engaging in just one of the groups of 10 rather than the entire group. And possibly they would be encouraged to then go seek out afterwards that entire group. So here's the recap as we were playing it out. At an early hour of the morning, the adventure party returned to the closed gates of Kendall Keep. They were initially barred entry, but the paladin spoke for the party and let slip that they were returning from the rumored stronghold of Quescatan. At first not believed, the guard fetched a lieutenant of the guard, who recognized the party was in fact in the keep 2 days prior and had handed over several bandits that they had captured. They were considered trusted and allowed to enter. And so the party entered into the main courtyard area that's open to travelers come and going. It's not the inner portions of the keep, but it's just on the outer portions of it. While getting assistance for the group's fighter, Ennis, who was nearly killed and in need of total rest for at least 5 days, the AP, or Adventure Party, began making plans for their return to Westburn for training. Most of the party had learned sufficiently enough about their own skills that they were prepared to advance in their studies and techniques. They also had sufficient wealth to pay the expenses associated with training. One of the things that I use based on the Dungeon Master's Guide is a rating system. So how the players rated in their actions from one session to the next. And there's a range of costs associated to training based on being rated 1, which is the best rating, 2, which is still very good, 3, which is average, and 4, which is below average. So the player characters group, they rated overall in those first 5 sessions a 1.6. And so that was going to modify their training cost to roughly 240 gold pieces to achieve for each to achieve second level. So while gaining assistance for the group's fighter Ennis, they were going about looking to prepare for their next day's journey. While preparing for lodging for the night, a caravan arrived from Westburn. There were several injured drovers, and they claimed they were forced to leave behind 2 carts worth of their cargo to make their escape. They described the bandits as being well organized and approximately 20 in number. Kendrius, the paladin, seemed most angered by the brazen activities of the bandits in this region. He spoke with the other group members, and they began to concoct a plan to seek out these bandits and bring them to justice. The party convinced another merchant to assist in their plan to lure these bandits into attacking the caravan, but with the party laying in wait, either concealed under tarps or simply posing as normal caravan guards, riding alongside the drovers on their wagons. Everyone prepared. The magic users Cedric and Amalric memorized sleep spells. Sparrow the druid took a quiet stroll outside the keep to commune with nature and decided that she would be prepared to use entanglement spells in the upcoming battle. The clerics Breeze and Mirador prayed to their deities in preparation for what conflict lay ahead. The party as a whole made sure that Ennis would be well taken care of in their absence. They would set out the next morning. The first 4 hours of travel was uneventful. But in the 6th hour, they became aware of the impending attack. Let me just turn off this. One of the most important tactical decisions made by the group was the decision of Cedric the magic user to deploy his familiar Corvo, or Crow, to fly above the caravan and scout out ahead and around whilst staying within range of the mage's control. The Crow spotted 2 groups. And I am going to switch to the map now. So here on the left, you can see all of the players that were present. Now, Innes is down at the bottom, and he was incapacitated, but the player was there. So Gene was there. He sat through the entire 3-hour session, and so he was awarded experience points just for being there and showing support for the rest of the team. So here's their caravan on the road. You'll see on the right side, and although I couldn't get these angles quite correctly, arrow number 1 was the main leader of the bandit company. That was his group. They were attacking from the 2 o'clock position, and then groups 2 and 3 are respectively at 9 o'clock and 8 o'clock position, although that's probably a little closer to 7. And they were on an angle, all of them angled in, coming in towards the caravan. Now, the player characters were distributed mostly amongst these 3 middle carts, and then Breeze, the elven cleric, was riding on a horse separately and on the left-hand side of the caravan, somewhere in between the carts 3 and 4. So let me continue the recap. So the Crows spotted 2 groups of bandits, one at 9 o'clock position and the other at the 8 o'clock position. Sparrow the druid, riding in the second cart of the caravan, with her enhanced alertness, detected a 3rd group of bandits moving in from the 2 o'clock position. The adventure party was not surprised and had the advantage, and they waited. 2 of the groups of bandits, 2 o'clock and 8 o'clock, were advancing. Both groups had a leader mounted on a medium horse, each with 9 bandits mounted on light horses. The bandits advanced, and the AP, or adventure party, waited. The first few arrows from both 2 o'clock and 8 o'clock began to land amongst the carts, but no one was injured. Angus the Ranger fired his arrows at the leader of the 8 o'clock group, and uncustomarily missed. Sparrow the druid slung her sling bullet at one of the bandits in the same group and drew first blood in this attack. Breeze the elven cleric fired his bow, killing one of the bandits. Once the bandits were in range, so the player characters actually they kind of just waited on for them to start moving into position. They noticed that groups 1 and 3 were the ones moving in, and 2 was kind of staying behind. And they waited. They were very, very patient. They were waiting for the bandit groups to get within the spellcaster's range, and then put them into range of the sleep spells and the entanglement spells. Once the bandits were in range, the 2 magic users, Cedric and Amalric, cast their sleep spells. Unfortunately, Cedric's spell was not very effective, putting just 5 bandits to sleep, whereas Amalric's spell had put 7 bandits to sleep. The sleeping bandits all fell from their horses in mid-gallop, and only a few rose again, wounded but no longer asleep. But at least half of those that did fall off died from their injuries. They still continued moving in, and as they got even closer, once they got into range of that spell range, they also came into range of Crandon, the halfling thief's throwing daggers. And he managed to kill 2 bandits with thrown daggers. All right, so there were 2 wounded bandits that still continued to move in, and he managed to kill 2 of them. It was at this point that Mirador, the cleric, cast a darkness spell on the leader of the 2 o'clock group. He smartly cast the spell on the leader's armor, and not just on the ground. The leader was then engulfed in total darkness, and a 30-foot radius of total darkness followed him. The 2 o'clock group was in disarray, as was the 8 o'clock group as well. Remember, the 8 o'clock group, almost half of the bandits were put to sleep in that first round. In the next action, the 9 o'clock group of bandits finally came within range. Sparrow cast her first entanglement spell, entangling 4 or 5 bandits, and the archers of the party, Breeze and Angus, started to take their toll on the bandits, and the body count amongst the bandits' forces had begun to pile up. Some asleep, others entangled, many dead, and a few wounded. Finally, during the same action, a group of bandits from the 2 o'clock group made it to the 2 carts. One cart occupied by Crandon the thief and Mirador the cleric. The first bandit took a mighty swing with his long sword and caught the halfling across his abdomen. Crandon fell, very near death, and if it weren't for his surviving the initial shock of the wound and the fact that he was in the same cart as a cleric, he would probably have died. The actual hit was an 8 hit point damage, and it took him to -2 with just 1 strike, and he had to make his system shock roll in order to survive it. Mirador gave up any other notions for an action and immediately called upon Farlagon's favor to heal his friend. The action then continued as the adventure party's archers killed a few more bandits, and Sparrow cast her last spell of the day, another entanglement spell. She also very smartly targeted the area of darkness that she knew was the leader of the entire bandit company. She knew that her spell's radius was greater than that of the darkness spell, and she was certain that the bandit leader would be at the very least be hindered by her spell. The spell caused the vegetation to rise up and engulf the leader, and he remained immobilized and in total darkness. So you can kind of imagine like the disarray that was going on in that group number one. And the leader wouldn't have any idea of where the spell was actually cast. He would probably thinking that, oh, if I keep on moving in any one direction, um, I will eventually get out of the darkness, not knowing exactly where it was cast upon. And for the players, this was a really funny thing because I kept on describing it. I was like, you're seeing this black circle move about, on your flank, desperately looking, you assume, to get out of it, and doesn't realize that it was actually cast on his suit of armor. So Kendrius managed to kill, that's the paladin, managed to kill at least one more bandit before convincing two more to surrender. Fortunately, the adventure party had made it a point to purchase 8 sets of manacles, and that is exactly the number of bandits they ended up capturing. It was just a fluke that of all the bandits that they killed and the few that fled, what was left behind was exactly the number of manacles that they actually had. So I actually wrote here, this was not by design, just an unbelievable coincidence and a credit to how well this group of characters prepared. Yeah, that is one thing that I can't say enough. This group of players are very smart when it comes to tactics, and they really think things through beforehand, and their preparation is excellent, and it's really starting to kind of come together where they're role playing the interactions amongst each other, and especially in their planning and preparation sessions, when they're talking about their next steps or their next actions and where they're looking to go. And it's really a pleasure to listen to them talking about what they want to do next, why they kind of want to do it, and they seem to be on the same page for much of this. Of the bandits, 2 of their leaders were killed, and their main leader was captured. 15 other bandits were killed, 7 captured, and only 5 managed to flee. The story will be told that 9 stood up to 30 and prevailed. It was, however, nearly a very costly victory, but the road to the Westburn would be safer, at least for a little while. All right, and the players picked up a significant amount of experience from this combat, loot from this combat, as far as the captured horses and some of the armor, and the main leader, a 5th level fighter, had 2 magic items with him. Now the players haven't discovered what those magic items are, but they know that they are magic, but they don't know exactly what they do. But it was a magic chainmail, which had the darkness spell cast on it, and a magic longsword, which they don't know the properties of it just yet. So let me switch back here. So again, this group of players are playing extremely well with each other. They're planning things out, and their actions in combat, because it has been the last 2 sessions have been very combat focused, and the players have expressed that these last 2 sessions have been their favorite. All right, so they're really enjoying the combat, and it's not just numbers crunching and such. It's the way that they're interacting with one another and creating kind of a plan, even sometimes on the fly. All right, I'm going to do this, and they're calling out their actions and such, and so it's really coming together, and they're their behaviors in combat is starting to really like border on heroic action. And that's something that I really wanted to foster in this whole campaign. And I think it's like for me, and I've read other DMs and other players talk about AD&D First Edition in that it really does capture the essence of heroic fantasy. And even if it does focus a lot on combat, that's part of the goal of it is to have these combats become more and more challenging and force the players to make those heroic actions, to be somewhat self-sacrificing and to, forego other actions in order to heal, which we saw with Mirador in this session. A druid, which you would normally, possibly suspect would be kind of a quieter role in the group. I mean, she drew first blood. She was looking to, prepared to do, to cast those entanglement spells. We're really taking a role in how the initial parts this of this engagement were going to take place. The magic user, thinking ahead, I'm going to use my familiar to scope out this area. Again, it goes back to the level of experience that this group has, and just the fact that now they're into their sixth session. Many of them 6 sessions already together, and it's starting to really gel as far as a working cohesive group. Other players have been stepping up all along. Angus the Ranger is always he's a killing machine. Being specialized or double specialized with his bow. He's absolutely devastating in combat. For the most part. But it was actually good to see that he missed that first round. He was like, it was like amazing that he actually missed those first 2 attacks, because it is very much unlike him to have those kind of bad rolls. And then this was the second session in a row where a player character was almost killed. And that is really important, I think, for players to understand that even though they have a large group and they're, so far they've met every challenge and had a fairly easy way of dealing with it. It only takes one really lucky hit to do a lot of damage to one of them. They are still first level characters, and so the thief was very, very lucky not to. If he failed that system shock roll, he would have been dead. And in the previous session, if the druid had done one more point of friendly fire damage to the fighter, he would have been forced to make a system shock roll as well. Although his constitution is fairly high, would have most likely made it, but there was still that chance of that taking place. So, the group is working really well. We're having a lot of fun running these adventures, and even the impromptu ones are really fitting into the overall campaign as it's going along, and this was really driven by the players' actions and what the players were kind of demanding. The paladin spoke up, and he was like, "No, we have to do something about these bandits now," and that's what shifted the whole session from being, well, let's just get you up to Westburn and start training your characters up to, no, they're going to seek out this whole band of bandits, and they want to eliminate them. And so I had to make that adjustment as the DM to make sure that not only am I, giving the players what they're looking to do, but still keeping it within lines of what where the story arc was still leading towards as well. So that's something that you should try to do is give some amount of sandbox flexibility, but still keep in mind like how do you integrate that sandbox element into your overall campaign story that you're looking to do. And you'll be surprised sometimes you'll be hit with an inspiration that says, "Oh, I just thought of something else now, and now I'm going to make this change," and it improves what you were originally thinking about. Because I certainly came up with several of those inspirations, just listening to and watching the players play, and they had some like really interesting times coming forward, especially as we move forward to getting them into Westburn, and I'm prepared to finalize my list. As you can see, these are the 30 NPCs that they could potentially meet during their next visit, and I actually had to include a few more along the way because of the actions of the players during this particular adventure. So once again, it's been a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you hadn't subscribed, please consider subscribing. If you have any questions or comments, if you want to ask any questions specific of any of the players, I mean, I will show you once again. The party is Angus is the Human Ranger, played by Kelly Foote. Amalric is a Grey Elf fighter magic user, played by Blaine. Breeze is a elf cleric, played by Empty Inside. Cedric is a human magic user, played by Ivan. Candrius is a human paladin, played by Alan. Crandon is a halfling thief, played by Vince. Mirador is a human cleric, played by Mirador. And Sparrow is a half-elf druid, played by Leah. And Ennis is a human fighter, played by Jean. So if you have anything specific to ask of them, virtually all of them are ready for second level, I believe, except for Ennis, who's lagging behind because he missed this past session due to lack of combat. But he certainly did pick up experience points from just the session because he was present. And again, I give him a lot of credit for showing up, knowing that his character, for the most part, was going to be rather sedentary and not involved in the action itself. So again, thanks for joining. Leave your comments, and I look forward to seeing you on the gaming screen sometime soon. You have a great rest of your week. Stay safe out there and keep on gaming. Take care.